Hi there, Kristen here. So today I want to talk a little bit about holding ourselves through endings and just really finding ways to be okay with the fact that things do not last forever. I think that this is a hard subject for many of us. I think that in our world, we are not always taught how to embrace endings, right? More often than not, I feel like we are modeled this fear of endings, this a lot of anxiety around endings, right? I think it's really important to remember that this has not always been the case for humans throughout time and space and throughout different cultures, right? Super important to remember that cultures from different times, cultures from different places have different relationships with endings, right? Different ability to kind of honor, hold space for, respect the fact that death is a natural part of life, that endings are inherent for beginnings to happen, right? And so I think it's really important for us to just kind of get really curious about our own beliefs around endings, our own kind of feelings about endings, and just get really curious about how we perceive endings, how we handle endings of any sort, right? Because when we can get curious about how we are reacting to endings, we can start to offer alternatives, expanded perceptions, expand our consciousness and shift how we're viewing things, right? So when we're thinking of endings in the American society that I was raised in, I was taught to think of time as linear, right? There's a beginning and there's an end, right? We're born and then we die. And it's understandable then why I might feel super stressed out and scared about death, because I move through my life and then I die, and then there's this great unknown. It's like, what is going to happen? I can't see down the line. What's going on? And personally, I think that one of the biggest kind of medicines that we can give ourselves as far as our perception of time, our perception of beginnings and ends, is to really stop seeing things as a linear line and start seeing things as a circle again, right? Because in a circle, if I begin and then end, where it's at the same spot, the beginning and the end, right? There is a recognition that all endings are just new beginnings. And so all of a sudden, endings maybe aren't as scary anymore, right? Because there is a recognition that a new journey is beginning, right? I think also when we're talking about like progressing on the path, right? It's like life in general happens in cycles, right? We see this in like the year, right? We move from like winter to spring to summer to fall to winter, year after year, right? If we watch the moon, it's the same thing. We have like a new moon, we can't see it. It gets bigger, bigger, bigger. It's full. And then it gets smaller, smaller, smaller. It's new, right? And so it's really important to hold space for the fact that like when we look in the world around us, when we look to nature, everything happens in a cyclical fashion, right? Nothing is happening on this linear fashion, right? And in a way, like, yeah, like a line is just a deconstructed circle. But again, when we do not hold space for the circle, our endings and beginnings we get scared of ends because we forget that we're just going right back around that circle over and over and over again. So I think it's really important to hold that, right? I think all of us can relate to moments in our life when something ended, but something new was beginning, right? So this can be anything from like graduating one level of school and moving on to a new school, right? Finding a new place to live and moving out of where we're living, whether that's moving to a new city or just moving to a new part of town, right? Like all of those are like something is ending, right? We're no longer going to live in this house anymore. We're no longer going to be going to that school anymore. And at the same time, something new is beginning, right? A new house, is here for us, right? A new school is here for us. And so when we're thinking of just like endings in life events, right? Like transitions, right? Any time that we're transitioning from one old way into a new way, right? There is this energy of ending, beginning, right? And I think it's really, really important for us to be able to hold space for the grief and the sadness and maybe the longing, right? And the nostalgic feelings that come up when something ends. Even if at the same time, we're holding feelings of excitement and gratitude for the new thing that's about to begin, right? It's a practice of really expanding so that we can hold both seemingly oppositional feelings at the same time, right? Exuberance, gratitude, excitement, right? Also grief, sadness, longing, right? Nostalgic. So I think it's really, really important that we really honor ourselves and give ourselves time and space, right? To feel the feelings that come up when something ends, right? It can be something really little, right? Like moving, right? Or which I guess isn't that little. It can feel really big for some folks. But I think it's so important that we give ourselves space to feel the feelings that are coming up, because I know that in my own life, I got the message that like feeling sad, feeling grief, that those feelings were somehow bad, right? That I wasn't supposed to feel those feelings. And yet, when I prevent myself from feeling sadness and from feeling grief, I really create a lot of like energetic blocks. More often than not, like the feelings are there and I just have to suppress them, which always just is harmful for our well-being when we suppress ourselves, right? It ends up creating these like pressure cookers that just explode unexpectedly, right? Creates like blocks that we didn't even realize existed, right? So it's so important to let ourselves feel our feelings and to let those feelings move through us. And some of the way, there's so many ways that we can, you know, feel those feelings, move those feelings, and really like it's going to come down to, getting deeper into relationship with yourself to kind of investigate and get curious about what works for you, right? In different times, it's like sometimes like journaling is really helpful. Sometimes getting up and dancing is really helpful. Taking a walk, talking to a friend, simply like giving ourselves a hug, letting ourselves sob, right? Like any way that we can really let the energy of the grief move through us, we are going to make space for us to feel the goodness of what comes next. And I think that's what I want to focus on for the rest of this, right? Is that when we give ourselves space to grieve an ending, right? To integrate lessons that have been learned from whatever thing is ending, to celebrate all the good stuff, to be kind of like grateful that we don't have to deal with some of the stuff that was like bothering us maybe with the thing that's ending. When we give ourselves time to process and move and release that, all of a sudden we have expanded space to feel the joy and excitement and goodness that is coming with the new beginning that we are excited for. And I think it's so important right now in particular for us to be gentle with ourselves and to really give ourselves space to be sad about stuff ending, even as we're excited for something to begin. For many of us this year, 2020 has been exceptionally trying, right? So many things that we depended on, right, stopped being accessible to us, right? Many of us might have experienced like big loss, right? With like loved ones moving on, transitioning to the next life, right? And so I think it's really important for us to be able to give ourselves room to be sad if we want to be sad, right? And why I think that's important is because we are moving into such a magical era, right? People have been talking about this age of Aquarius, and I just want to name that like we are moving into like the potential of everything that we've always been dreaming for and wishing could be is going to start being able to be manifested here on earth. And it's so important for us to be able to grieve the ending of this old way of being so that we can show up fully in excitement and joy and love for the new beginnings that are going to happen. Because if we can do that, if we can let ourselves move the grief, move the sadness, then all of a sudden we can make so much magic with the love that can expand because we've allowed ourselves to release the grief. Right? If we try to hold the grief and sadness inside ourselves, it kind of like we fold in, right? Like we're trying to hold it, we're gripping, we're holding. And what that means is our love cannot expand. And if our love cannot expand, then we cannot receive all the goodness that is to come to us. Yeah, there is so much magic to be had in this world. Yeah, before I started this video, I did a card pull for the collective on what guidance can the universe give us to hold ourselves through endings. And so I picked some cards from my Animal Spirit Oracle deck here. And I want to name that the two cards that fell out of the deck are both having to do with magic. So I'm going to show the first one that I picked, right? White Raven, right? Trust the magic. Okay. So important, right? To just find ways to have faith in the circle of life, right? Right now, we are living in the darkest time of the year, right? It's December, the days are getting shorter. We are building up towards winter solstice, right? This winter solstice this year is going to be really magical and incredible as far as the shifts that are going to take place, right? That are going to unfold after that moment in time. And so it's so important for us to be able to trust in the magic, right? I think that when I think of like faith and hope, right? It can be easy, I think, to look around our world and think, oh, it's hard to have hope. It's hard to have faith, right? I get that. And at the same time, when I root into this circle that I was talking about, right? Even in these darkest days of winter, I have faith that spring will come, right? Even in these darkest, cold days of winter, I know that summer will come, right? That every day is a day closer to summer, a day closer to spring, right? And so while that might not do very much to alleviate any of the feelings that I'm having, that faith that things will get better sometimes is enough to actually just keep moving through, right? Not always, but for me, I know that like trusting that this too shall pass, trusting that like even today will one day be yesterday is sometimes enough to just keep me kind of like moving forward, right? And when we're talking about like trusting in the magic, I think I want to read you some of what this card has to say directly from the source, because yeah, that's what I'm feeling like I need to do for you now. Okay, White Raven Spirit. I'm gonna hold the card up again as I read this. Nothing in the universe is random, for the intricate web of co-creation weaves together all events and has done so since the beginning of time. Coincidences have meaning, and White Raven Spirit appears to remind you to pay attention to these synchronicities so that you might recognize patterns. Even the wind's dance is a pattern, participating in the magic of Spirit's plan for all. Align with the highest good and intentions, and you will come to see that White Raven is guiding you, an ally to you and a messenger from Spirit. Align with the light, and you will start to recognize that all is working together harmoniously in ways the eye can't always see and the mind can't always comprehend. The universe is conspiring on your behalf right now, drawing you to the light and bringing you the magic and miracles that are your birthright. Now is the time to trust in the magic of the world that is everywhere and in all living things. Pay attention to how things come together as if by magic, and you will see the hand of Great Spirit arranging things in your favor. Yeah. Not more needs to be said on that, huh? The other card that fell out, I think, is also really poignant and also has a very similar message, right? So the scarab beetle spirit saying that magic runs through you, right? Another reminder at how the energy of magic can run through us, particularly when we give ourselves space to clear blockages and feel the feelings that come up. Endings can be devastating, and new beginnings are full of possibilities. Anytime something ends, there is opportunity for something new to emerge. In our world, we so often forget that death is an intricate part of life, right? We forget that in order for life to continue living, that death actually needs to happen, right? Makes me think of compost, right? Compost, I think, is one of those magical things that happens in this world, right? We can take our food scraps and our leaves and different plant pieces from our gardens, and we can put them in a pile, and over time they will decompose and they will become nutritious soil that can feed the earth, right? Our trash, just with given a little time to decompose, can become nutritious soil from the earth. And while it decomposes, it creates life, right? In my compost bin, on any given day, you can find so many happy little bugs. You can find so many little lizards crawling around there, munching on those bugs. And you can find beautiful birds, blue jays and crows, right, that land over there and get themselves a little lizard snack, right? And then within the compost itself, there are so many worms, so many worms. I am consistently shocked at just how many worms are inside of the compost pile, right? And so I think it's so important for us to remember that even though death is devastating more often than not, that we have an opportunity anytime things end to begin anew, right? To anchor ourselves into life and choose to be grateful for what we have and trust that good things will come. The other thing that I want to say about the scarab beetle spirit is really that when we give ourselves time and space to feel our feelings, move our feelings out of us through dance or energy work or tapping or whatever works for us, when we move the energy out, we create space for the magic of life to flow through us, right? But when we cling tightly to control, cling tightly to the past, when we suppress our feelings and get really rigid and tight, right, we prevent the magic of this world from flowing through us. And then we forget that the magic of this world is accessible to us at any time. Yeah. It's so extraordinary when we let ourselves release and then let magic flow to and through us. Miracles are a natural part of life, right? Compost, right? The fact that a decaying piece of trash can go through a transformation process and then feed something is a miracle, right? we are surrounded by miracles every day. We're surrounded by magic every day. Sometimes things have to end so that new things can start. And it is completely natural to feel scared and sad about endings and nervous about new beginnings, right? Completely natural. And if we let ourselves tap into the magic of this world, we can see that the beginnings can bring us lives that are beyond our wildest dreams. If we let go of what we thought should be, if we let go of what we thought could be, if we let go of all that which is not working for us, all that which is over and done with and ending, if we can find a way to let go and be at peace with the ending, so much magic is on its way for us. So much magic is on its way for us. It's okay to feel scared and sad. Actually, that is probably one of the most normal feelings in response to something ending. And we can also choose to feel hopeful, loving, excitement. We can choose to believe in magic. Because truthfully, any time that a transformation occurs, magic is taking place. Anytime something ends and something new begins, magic is present. Yeah. So, final messages, trust in the magic. Yeah, magic flows through you. Yeah, it does. I love you. We can let the old stuff fall away and make space for so much more than we ever thought was possible. Yeah. We are moving into a new day. We're allowed to feel sad and scared about that. And I hope that we tap into the magic. Let ourselves believe once again that magic is real. And let it flow to and through us, because when we work with that spiritual magic that is flowing through everything, there's nothing that can stop us. We can build the world that we dream of. Trust in your longings. Let yourself be wild and weird and free. We need you. We need you to show us the way back to magic, back to faith, back to trust, back to love. We're all here for a reason right now. We all chose to be here for a reason. We are in a time of great transition. We have what we need within us to transform. We have what we need within us to create miracles on earth. We can choose to let go of the old ways, right? The old ways that are ruled by fear, the old ways that are entrenched with greed, right? We can choose to let go of the old and dive forward into the new. You are a magical being. I am so, so grateful that you are here right now. May we co-create the most magnificent paradise on this earth. We're doing it, and we're doing it together. Love you so much. Bye.